Okay, so today we're at the NELTA conference in Kathmandu in Nepal, and I'm here with Dr. Laxman Gnawali. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Darren, for the opportunity to talk to you.
It's very nice to have you here. So can you tell us a little bit about your background in English teaching first?
English teaching?
Yes.
Not learning.
Well, actually, we can start with learning. How did you first learn English?
My first exposure to English was in grade 4 when I went to school, lower secondary school. I learned ABC then, and the classes were all, Nepali medium as we're talking about. But anyway, so I started learning English from grade 4, and in grade 8, I joined a Sanskrit school where English was there, but not as important as in other schools. So I learned Sanskrit, grammar, and literature both.
Sanskrit's not, it's equivalent to Latin, I suppose, right? Is it still a spoken language?
Yeah, in the status it is the same as but still, Latin is not used in Europe. But Sanskrit is used in Nepal,
it is still
in India, in rituals.
Okay.
And most of our knowledge from the past is in Sanskrit.
Okay.
So, and we also have a Sanskrit university.
Right.
So it's not a mother tongue for people to use it every day, but it's a language that is in the discourse.
Right.
So I passed my school leaving certificate with a certificate in Sanskrit education, but somehow, I don't know how, I had developed a love for English because there was one course of English, although I didn't excel in it. So I went to university after my schooling with an aim to become an English teacher. When I didn't understand a word my teachers used to say in the class, but it was a bit luck or some sort of determination that I had. It took 2 years for me to be able to understand the lectures. So I specialized in English language teaching. And because I had to support myself, I started working in a government school where I taught students of secondary level who were just 2 years behind me. That was a big challenge because the teacher training I got was actually for the primary level, and now I was teaching secondary level. That lasted 1.5 years, and I came back to the town where I joined again bachelor's level, and we had colleagues from different backgrounds. One of them was a principal of a school, a private English medium school. He needed a teacher, and I needed a job. So that matched. And so I went to that school and started teaching. And interestingly, the school had English-only environment. Students were not allowed to speak any other language. Once they wore the school uniform and they were in the rickshaw, the rickshaw, the vehicle. So when they boarded the rickshaw with the uniform on, now they have to start speaking English, not even inside the school premises. Then I had to follow the rule, so I tried my best, but that became a turning point in my life to learn English because I had to speak anyway. And we had made a rule, the school had a rule that if you speak any other language than English, then you have to take all the staff to a restaurant in the evening. Then after my master's level, I came to Kathmandu for my master's in English, and there the classes were different because teachers used to teach in English medium, English literature, and our colleagues used to practice English. Some of them had developed speaking habits, English speaking habit, so that improved a bit. Again at Kathmandu, I started teaching English in second level to support myself. And once I finished my master's, then I went back to my own district in the west where I started teaching grade 11 and 12. That was higher secondary level.
So those students are in their mid-teens?
Late teens.
Late teens, okay.
17, 18, 19.
Okay.
And there I tried my best to use all the knowledge I had to teach English. I was considered a good teacher, but again I wasn't happy because I didn't know much about English language teaching. Because all this, after that intermediate level of teacher training, I went to English literature course, BA and MA. Then they don't talk about teaching and pedagogy. And somehow I was in Kathmandu one day and one of the teachers saw me here and they said, "What are you doing?" I'm working in a village. He said, "Come to Kathmandu University." in the beginning I didn't actually believe what I was being offered. But I thought that's an opportunity, so I came to Kathmandu University and I started teaching. And it was a big challenge for me because I had come from a background that did not foster English. And I didn't have good English speaking skills or even writing skills. But the students who came to my university came from convent schools, private English medium schools. They knew all those nuances of English, all those colloquial expressions, but I didn't. And they had a very good reading background. But I went on, and again I was voted the top teacher among 5 of us after I think 3 or 4 years. And after spending 8 years, I went to UK on one scholarship to do a master's, and I was placed in Malazone, Plymouth, and that's where I switched again back to teacher education, teacher training for English language teaching. So after that master's, I came back to that university again, and there I did something which was not planned. I set up a master's program for ELT. That was in 2003, and till now I've been leading that department, where I was able to add another program in 2013, that is MPhil in English language education. So this is my brief history of learning and teaching and also organizing ELT.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think there's a lot we can think about from that so far. So one of the things you mentioned were the English language medium schools. And something I've heard a lot about at this conference is a lot of debate about whether schools in Nepal should be using only English in the class. What's your opinion on that? What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, I actually debate on this because we are producing two kinds of people, two kinds of citizens. We have the public schools where the medium of instruction is Nepali, and private English medium schools where they teach everything except Nepali in English. And when they pass the school leaving certificate, then the private English medium school students do much better. The results are higher. And they go into science, medicine, engineering, all these areas. And these public school graduates can't make it just because of English. And the government is making a suicidal kind of decision that they would also like to switch to Nepali, say English medium, when they have to discourage private schools to use English language. I mean, English is good. It's the gateway, passport to prosperity and all. But for that, you can kill the local language. So my take is this: if you teach all of the subjects in Nepali, but English, science, and mathematics in English, I think you will do justice to both. Nepali will not die, and the students will grow up with good, knowledge and skills in English. So that's my take.
So the quite recent decision then by the government is to give all schools the option of switching to English medium if they choose to.
Yeah.
Which the flavour I get is that's not necessarily a popular.
It's not popular, but the parents are the ones who decide. And it's the parents who are sending the children to private English medium schools. Now what will happen is they will send the children to public schools where English medium is working in reality. So maybe that will be the reality in the future.
Something else that I've noticed a lot of discussion about during this conference is the kind of importation of methodologies and pedagogical practices from the West or from overseas. And I actually noticed it feels quite a lot of confidence from a lot of the local speakers that there is an idea of how to build Nepali pedagogy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the metaphor about ELT came in packages, manufactured, imported from the UK, delivered on a silver platter by the British Council that Professor Savedi gave us yesterday. But you talked about communicative language teaching today.
Yes.
So please tell us a little more.
Our tradition of education was very rich. We had Sanskrit education, and although there was some social discrimination, but if you look at the society at large, education was very, very strong. A lot of learning, a lot of debates, music was there, art was there, and the teaching learning, the tradition was very, very strong. The teacher-student relationship was not commercial. It was not only for the time period of teaching and learning. It was for life. Once I become your disciple, I will be your disciple forever. So that was a social bonding that we used to have. But after 1950s, when Nepal had democracy, and we opened our country to the outside world, and then came this English from the West. A few things happened. One was we had this Gurkha army who the British recruited, so they learned English, they came here. And the politicians went to the US, to UN, other agencies, and they saw English was important. Then they brought English into their school system with one, sometimes two papers of English in school, and it was heavily contemplated. So it was going on. Then somehow, in late 80s and early 90s, this communicative language teaching approach came into our country, mainly through the consultants who came to Ministry of Education to advise in matters of education planning. So they said, do this and do that, and it came. And for about 10, 15 years, 20 years, we thought that was it. But lately, in the last 5, 7, 8 years, we have started discussing, let's teach English fine, but should we teach the way they teach in England or in the US? Why not we revamp the kind of teaching learning process that we had? Because we saw some valid reasons, like I was discussing, and the person who spoke after me, Balkrishna, was discussing. We had this Gurukul, okay, where memorization was the way of learning. And now what we are saying is memorization is all wrong, all bad. I say it's not all bad. Sometimes it may be overloading, but it's not all bad. Because if you remember things, you're independent. And you can use anywhere. You don't have to rely on technology. You don't have to rely on others. Yes. And here, this hierarchy exists for good. Teacher is higher. We have to accept that. But what we are saying is, teacher should be democratic. Teacher should be at the level of students. That's fine. But then what might happen is, if you do not look up to the person who is teaching you, you may not learn enough, or you may not learn as expected. So teacher must be a little higher. So a few things are coming, and we are thinking of, if not building, incorporating our local tradition of teaching learning into our classrooms to teach English. The debate has started. Let's see what happens in the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, that leads very neatly, I think, into NELTA's role in English education in Nepal. And you were Senior Vice President of NELTA until 2011, is that right?
Yeah.
But you're very active in the organisation anyway.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little about the history of NELTA and what they're doing now?
It was 1991 when Professor Abasti and Professor Khania, they somehow thought they must be organized as English teachers. Then there was this British Council Deputy Director, David Pattinger. He wanted to help the English teaching community, but because teachers were not organized, he didn't know who to talk to. Then this interest matched, and somehow they met and they said, let's organize something. And they came up with this name NELTA, and they started. Then every year, this organization has been organizing conferences, publishing one journal, and a few issues of newsletters, and sending English teaching professionals to the UK for master's programs, and organizing regional conferences and some monthly workshops and talk shows, and a lot of networking. So we've been doing this. And I finished my PhD only in 2013, and my PhD is about professional development of teachers when they come to NELTA.
Yes.
What happened to that?
Well, I think the big conference, and this is a wonderful conference, I've really enjoyed my time here and I'd love to come back again. But I mean, I'm a member of JOLT in Japan, which is our big organisation. And the main conference is the kind of showpiece, but I think what's really interesting are all the other things that happen.
Yes.
And I'm really interested to read about a lot of the regional work you do and the programs that you do outside Kathmandu.
Yes, we do.
Can you tell us anything about any of those in particular?
What else we've been doing is this British Council sponsored ET project, ETT, English for Teaching, Teaching for English, that's the project. I was heavily involved in this when I was in the committee. In this project, what we did was we said, enough with the methods, enough with the pedagogy, let's teach English to the English teachers. Language development. That was very successful. But the problem we had was, the project was successful with limited number of teachers. But there are thousands and thousands of teachers. So then British Council made 80 plus. They wanted to disseminate that with less involvement from British Council and NELTA, more involvement of the local stakeholders, local trainers and local teachers. So it's going on. And US Embassy is supporting through their micro scholarship access micro scholarship program, in which they teach English to non-elite early teenage students. I think at a time they have about 300 students. And these students, once enrolled, will be on the course for 2 years. They have 5-day course every week, and every day they attend 1.5 hour class. They learn English and American culture. So that's another thing. And other things, I think we have been networking with the local, regional associations in Belta, LTI and others, and we go to those conferences and we invite people from those conferences. We do that.
Actually, I've noticed there's quite a lot of cooperation with the SAARC countries, right? So between, I think there are 8 countries involved.
Now,
South Asian.
Yes, 8 countries. Yes.
Yeah.
And we have a kind of negotiation between us that if you come through those organizations, the conference registration fee is equal to local. Otherwise, it will be $50 or $80. But if you come through those local associations, then it will come down to Nepalese rate. Yeah.
It's a very affordable organisation, I think, for teachers.
2,000 rupees.
Yeah. Life membership is 3,000 rupees. Which
yes, and what you get is, you get the journal for free for life. If you give right postal address, it comes to your place.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for giving us your time. As I said, this is a wonderful conference and it seems like a great organisation, so I hope it goes from strength to strength. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to